Hi, everybody, and welcome to another VanHack customer success case interview. My name is Ilya. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at VanHack, and I'm very excited to be joined by Emmanuel and Rashmi from BDO Lixar, who have hired some great VanHackers recently, are here to share their stories. So Emmanuel and Rashmi, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, let's get started and just tell us a little bit about yourselves and also about BDO Lixar.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rashmi and I have been working together for a little over 20 years. And so we had been part of a tech startup. And then we joined BDO together in late 2019, early 2020. And so our areas of interest and focus areas is application development and data and everything to do with data. So artificial intelligence and obviously the new wave of generative AI and everything else. But everything to do with professional services around application development, cloud migrations, and everything else are service areas that we have an active interest in. And so our team is made up of 200 people. And among other things, I lead the practice service area, and I'll hand it over to Rashmi as well to tell a little bit about herself.
So, hi guys, I'm a senior manager within BDO Lixar. I wear different hats at different times. Talent and recruitment of talent, sourcing talent is something that's very close to heart. And international recruitment has been very, very close to heart because of a similar journey I had taken myself a couple of decades ago. So I feel like Canada has been very kind to me. People have been very kind to me, and this is the time to also give it back in some way or form.
Very cool. Well, let's go back to kind of how hiring was before VanHack. What were maybe some of the challenges or difficult situations that you felt in the talent marketplace about a year ago or earlier than that before you started working with VanHack?
Go ahead, Rashmi. I'll jump in. Go ahead.
So other than the traditional channels of like full-time recruitment, there are different channels that are internal to BDO as well in terms of like, when we're hiring full-time employees. Outside of that, we also have a network of similar partners offshore and onshore where we kind of go to source mostly for resource augmentation. Am I missing anything, Emmanuel?
Nope, that's right. And so what we found has always been a really good strategy for us as well as part of this process is to do international recruiting. And so we've always found international recruiting has been a great vehicle to bring. I mean, obviously we love Canada and it's an opportunity to bring new Canadians to this country. And we've also found that it's been a great opportunity to identify top talent to help make us a stronger organization.
Very cool. And so what made you decide to move forward and work with VanHack to hire more international talent?
So one of the things that we found, some of the things that we used to do in the past was international recruiting fairs. And so we would go to physical locations. And so we've been to locations around the world, obviously, mostly in Europe and South America. And with the advent of COVID and everything else, it just made some of those events a little bit more difficult. And so we knew that the virtual realm was a better realm. And so one of the things that we've always liked about those events and those activities is that it would always bring willing and interested parties that would consider relocating, because relocating from one country to another country is a big life decision, and so it's not something to be taken lightly. So you want to make sure that you have an audience that's committed and motivated to do something like that. And so obviously what we loved about VanHack is that you created that virtual network for us, right? I mean, people that were qualified, people that are interested in technology, people that are interested in Canada, and people that were interested in relocating and in general. And obviously we had huge success with the program last year. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was close to 17 or 18 people that we were able to hire as through VanHack.
Yeah, I believe it was 17 people in about 6 months, something like that. So yeah. Pretty quick.
Yeah, half of them have already kind of landed in Canada and making a difference.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So how about the hiring process itself? Like, let's maybe go through the kind of from the beginning. When you post the job, how quickly did you get candidates? How quickly did you make that first hire? Just how was the experience recruiting with VanHack?
So it was great. I mean, the volume of candidates was imminent, and so the process. We typically in international recruiting take a slightly slower process than what we would do if we were hiring domestically, and part of the reason why is that we just think it's a big investment on our part and a big investment on the potential new Canadians part as well to immigrate to Canada. And so we typically add a few more gates into our process. And so we have a take-home test, and then we have 3 rounds of interviews before we go to the offer. And so that process from identifying candidates that we like to validating that they're interested in moving to Canada and then going through the test and all that can take upwards of about 2 months. And so, the critical path was always us and the recruitment philosophy that we had towards finding strong international talent. But the responsiveness of your team was fantastic. The responsiveness of the candidates as a whole was extremely strong as well. So, they were patient, they were supportive, and they understood the why. And Rashmi, who was one of the leaders of this, really emphasized the importance of, while there's we want people to join our firm as quickly as possible. We also just want to make sure that we do it with diligence, and a little bit of patience is required on everyone's part just to make sure that we get this right. And so there's always an appetite and understanding on the part of people that we were looking at.
Very cool. Rashmi, did you want to add anything, or?
So one of the things I felt like, that worked really well through the whole hiring process, other than like, what Emmanuel mentioned, was we also took it as an opportunity for the candidates to also kind of get more visibility into the organization. So we made sure, even though we maintained some continuity, we kind of brought more people to the different, the different stages of the interview, and also for them to kind of have an idea of the organization, and also like for the organization to have like a view into them. And VanHack kind of helped us kind of bridge those gaps pretty well.
Very cool. You
That's a
mentioned
great point. I mean, I think every candidate that we interviewed probably met at least 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And then we always had one person that was consistent across the entire interview process to maintain some form of consistency and comfort. But that we did make sure that we brought a variety of people and discussion topics to the interview process, for sure.
And from different levels, like, it was not
levels
just
too.
like, people who will be their peers or their managers, but like, just to give them an insight into the organization.
It's true.
Very nice. And that sounds like the candidates performed well, because, you have to meet so many different folks that it's a lot of people to impress. So that seems good. Great. Well, how about those events? You mentioned that you used to do the in-person events, but I think you also attended a few of our virtual hiring fairs. How were those events for you? You may please share a little bit about that.
So we participated in the events. We found as a whole that we got some good candidates from them, but that that our job postings typically tended to find, because those events tend to be a little bit more open, and so you have a broader, diverse skill sets of people coming into those roles. Whereas with the job postings themselves, we were getting people that were more targeted to the exact skill set that we were looking for. So we found as a whole that we had a little bit more success through our job postings. But the quality of the candidates, the interactivity, the genuine interest, the motivation, so all of the intangible attributes you certainly found in the candidates that you were meeting in person through some of the events.
Very cool. And how about on the pricing side of things? We have this model called the credits model, and something you took advantage of to help reduce your costs. How did you think about that approach to make a decision to go towards the hiring credits model versus the contingency success fee model?
Excuse me. Well, we knew we need to hire a lot of people. And so, on 2 levels. One, we felt like the math added up well. But then if you compare your pricing model to local market rates, they're very competitive. Complement the fact that you also offer some legal services as well for mobility and helping people relocate to the country. I mean, the overall value proposition was really strong. So given the combination of the volume and, you offered, very favorable, at least for us, volume discounts. I mean, the sum of all 3 of those things just made it an easy decision on our part.
Makes sense. Great to hear. Rashmi, do you want to add something, or?
No, I was just going to add to what Emmanuel was saying. What was really, really valuable was it almost felt like end-to-end service for the price that we were paying and all that. And also the quality of the people we were working with. They seemed to be subject matter experts in the areas they were working in, whether it was like legal, whether it was immigration, whether it was like, even like filtering out the talent that kind of fits the needs that we are kind of looking for. So it all put together, the whole package was very, very valuable.
That's great to hear.
That's one thing that I think has stood out for Rashmi and I throughout this journey with VanHack is, so it was my grandparents that immigrated on both my mom and my father's side that immigrated to Canada. Um, it's an adventure, and so it has its bumps along the road.
Mm.
But what's the stakeholder community like to sort of rally behind? And so we've always found that the people that we work with on the VanHack side, in terms of rallying behind and being inspired and motivated by the story of helping people come to Canada, has always been really strong. So that passion play and commitment to making a difference has been something that we've always felt in terms of the customer success, customer engagement, and aligned with the vision and the motivations of what everyone's trying to do.
That's really great to hear, and it's definitely what we strive for. A lot of the people on our team are immigrants, are like myself and a lot of other folks. So it's something we're really passionate about as well. No, that's great. And let's talk about the global mobility and relocation side. That dovetails nicely to my next question. How did you find the visa application support, the global talent stream process, as well as meeting people in person after you're going through the interviews? Have you had a chance to do that? I saw some pictures of VanHackers, arriving in Halifax or coming to your office in Ottawa, I think, as well, with the pictures of the Lixar office. So people seem to be really excited. How was the process there for you as well?
So Rashmi was a little bit closer to it, but so I'll let you start, Rashmi, and then
Yeah, I was just going to
I'll
kind of mention that. So from the time the offer is made to the time when people land here, I found the whole process very, very seamless and very smooth and very, for the lack of a better word, quick. So it seemed like everything kind of went like clockwork in terms of from the time the offers are made to the time we applied for the LMIAs to getting the work permits and all of those things. Everybody was really on the ball, and also there were some roadblocks and things that because of the changing regulations from the government side and all. It seemed like we were in it together. So there were sometimes we were leaning, I think at times that required going beyond the lane that one is driving in, and the VanHack team from the immigration team and all, they were helping us through that process. So at times it was coaching us through certain things, some of the calls that we had to take, and all of those things. So I found it went very, very smooth. Touch wood, I don't want to jinx it, but it went really, really smooth, and some things kind of moved fast. And the feedback that I got from the candidate side as well, because I was in touch, I was their contact as we kind of took that journey. It seemed like it kind of worked on both sides the same way. Even with the candidates, if they had any questions and they were not sure of something, they got the assistance and help and the recommendations. So it kind of, it's, as Emmanuel said before, it's a big decision. Moving countries, it can be overwhelming. Paperwork can be overwhelming. Even landing in Canada with nothing in hand, not knowing where you're going to stay. And also, it seems like there were tools and resources that were shared with them before they land here, be it creating, opening a bank account, or finding a place to stay. So that advice, there was a lot of empathy, which kind of helps build the confidence for somebody who's making that leap of faith, moving countries, because it's a hard decision in any case. It takes time to kind of settle in. But when you have that kind of encouragement and that support and help, I think it goes a long way in making that transition.
Yeah, there's almost like 3 steps in this process. So step 1 is people thinking they want to relocate and move to a new country and take a job abroad. Then step 2, when it gets real, when they finally get an offer letter and they go, oh my gosh, right? And then that whole transition period of mentally preparing to leave where you were, come to a new place where you might not know anyone. So that's when it starts getting real. And then it gets, whatever you want to call it, really real when they finally land here. And then they're starting in a lot of ways, a new life. And so, and that middle phase to get people to the point where they come to Canada, I agree with Rashmi, the experience has been very warm, very, very seamless. And so it's great. I mean, I've had a chance to meet 2 of them so far in person, and it's everything I would want it to be. And I just feel really good about it. So Canada is a land of immigrants, and it's great seeing new people come to Canada and being inspired and motivated to want to be great citizens.
Yeah, for sure. again what we strive for. And also you hired some people from all over the world, very diverse talent. Also a lot of men and women too on International Women's Day here today. How did hiring from VanHack contribute to your DE&I strategy, or kind of just generally the culture of the company?
Oh, I mean, I think it's been very strategic on all of those axes, and so it's important that we have proper representation in the workforce, and so that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about VanHack, is that I felt that the quality of candidates and the diversity of candidates were there, and so I think that was great, and so. Yeah, I mean, I think it fits seamlessly with the things that we're trying to do, and in a lot of ways, it's probably helped in some respects make it a little bit easier for us too. And that identification of strong talent that can help us meet some of those objectives in terms of where we want to be as an organization.
And
actually, I do want to mention this somewhat unrelated, but what got VanHack back on the radar for us was when the war broke out, and then you were offering free services for anyone that was in the Ukraine that was looking for opportunities, and so that actually opened the door to our reacquainting ourselves with VanHack, because we had worked with you, I think, previously 2 years before.
That's right.
One of your job fairs in Colombia, I think it was, right. And we ended up hiring someone, but it was your whole initiative around supporting the Ukraine the way you felt that you could as an organization, that which speaks obviously to yourselves and your commitment to equality. So that was a trigger point for us to sort of reacquaint ourselves with you. So
yeah, and I've noticed that there is also multiple events and activities that VanHack does more regularly to kind of keep pushing that envelope a little bit on diversity and equality of workforce, where an extra push is needed. I've noticed that VanHack has been kind of doing those events, and one of the events we joined as well, Emmanuel, recently, where there was this event of hiring women in tech.
Correct.
So I noticed that there is an extra push that VanHack has been doing to make sure that diversity kind of comes into place.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really cool to hear, especially with the Ukraine initiative. We, just for context, for anyone watching this, or also for both of you, we ended up making 22 hires from Ukrainian tech talent, and most of them have relocated. So it's something we're definitely very, very proud of, and we'll continue to support. I guess we can wrap things up here. Just a couple more questions. One is how have you managed, when you're hiring from abroad, and also I think you have offices in multiple locations, the remote work aspect of the, I guess, ecosystem now post-COVID. How has that been for your company? Any tips you have for other employers who are looking to thrive in this new environment?
Yeah, so we're fortunate that because we have a national practice, we have offices, a lot of offices around across Canada, and so most of the people, I believe, Rashmi, landed in Toronto, Ottawa, or Halifax. Halifax is always our default, is our preferred location, because we've hired a lot of international people in the past, and so typically they land in Halifax. In terms of tips and tricks in the remote workforce, I think as a whole in technology, there's always been a comfort around a virtualization of a workforce. And so you see it more now, whereas you don't have as many people coming into the office, but there's always been a little bit of a comfort. So I don't think that we would have anything to offer, like any advice or things that I would say that would be any different than probably what most people would see research and stuff. What I do want to comment on, though, that I think helped us a lot when we were international recruiting, is that we felt that when we were recruiting in select parts of the world, we would typically make sure that as part of the interview process, we had people that have previously immigrated from that area, so that way there we could establish, we could help with the process, so that to the extent that there was any, we might inadvertently create a bias that we're not aware of. Having someone that came from Colombia, or that came from Brazil, or came from Argentina, that they might be able to help with some of the subtleties of, if some people are working through some language issues, or or whatever the case may be, or whatever those mannerisms are. And I think it really helped make that person feel more comfortable because there was a connection. But I'm sure it helped us as well through that process.
Yeah, so there's a certain cultural sensitivity across the globe. Like, when you say something, even a single line here, it can be interpreted different ways in different cultures. So
Hmm.
having somebody who kind of can coach us, or like, catch some of that cultural sensitivity. And one of the advice I always have is keep an open mind. Just because some things happen a certain way in North America does not mean it happens the same way. Setting those expectations early on, and being conscious of that when you are going to different parts of the world, because in some parts, like, power um, is not like 24/7. You can't expect that. So things like that, like, those may be simple things, but that basically means that person has to work a little bit extra hard to make sure that stability is there. So things like that. So cultural sensitivity and being empathetic to what happens across the globe, and keeping an open mind.
Yeah. I think some of the
Fantastic.
things, Ilya, too, which you could probably appreciate is, which we've all been there before, is, inevitably in every interview, there's some degree of nerves that kick in, right? You get nervous,
Yeah.
you're searching for your words. And so we've certainly had situations where, to help the person feel comfortable, we've allowed them to express themselves in their maternal language.
Oh, cool.
And then, if we had a counterpart that was there that could help with the translation to help bridge them through that, because being an interview is hard. Being an interview where potentially English is not your first language is equally hard. And so, to the extent that we could allow people, like if we're interviewing people from Brazil, that they could express themselves in Portuguese from time to time, that we would make sure that was there so that those people could feel a little bit more comfortable.
I
As an
love that.
example, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, as an example, right? I mean, the same thing applied if we were interviewing other people from different parts of the world, to the extent that we could.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I haven't heard anyone give that tip before, so I'll make sure to tell that to other companies, because that's really nice. I'm sure the candidates appreciate that a lot, and maybe we're able to give a little bit of more better answer, or just kind of connected with you as a company as well through that process. That's fantastic. Well, last question. Would you recommend VanHack to other companies who are looking to hire tech talent, and if so, why?
Yes. Rashmi, you go ahead first, and then I'll close it.
Definitely. I think proof is in the pudding. The fact that we have hired almost 17 people in less than a year, half of them are already either here or making their way to Canada. To me, that speaks volumes about the success of this partnership. And I feel it's work is work, business is business, but there's a certain empathy, and there is a certain sense of purpose, which I feel we felt that was a instant connect with VanHack, that there was a genuine effort and purposefulness in terms of what we're trying to achieve here together. It's not about just bringing talent into Canada; it's helping people. For some, it's a dream. So to me, it kind of gives you personal gratification as well at times, that, like, you've in your small way, you've managed to make such a difference to somebody's life. So I think it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah. So I echo everything that Rashmi said. And then if you kind of if you want to break down this transaction into a financial transaction, the value proposition is extremely high. If you want to break this down into customer service and customer engagement, the quality of service that we got from you and your team, for all the reasons Rashmi made was extremely strong. And then if you think about the quality of the candidates that are joining our organization, again, extremely strong as well. And so I've had managers come back to me and encourage us to continue to maintain this program because of the quality of the candidates that we brought forward, and the difference in the impact that they're having on the business. So on all three axes, it's a strong score.
Yeah, and I just want to add something else. It's not just the a candidate. It's not just the organization that benefits from it. As a country, like, Canada, we are trying to kind of, like, as bad as it sounds, we are an aging population. Immigration is a big part of, like, Canada's growth as well, its economy and its future. And I think in its own way, it's also feeding into a bigger picture, to the province that they're coming to the country that they will be contributing towards. It's not just like, I just feel it kind of checks off all the boxes.
Very cool. Please tell the government about about us if you chat with have any friends there in Ottawa. No, that's really great to hear. All of this was super heartwarming for me, and really nice to speak with both of you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your partnership as well. And if anyone here is watching this and would like to have a similar experience, just please go to vanhack.com and sign up. We'll make sure to go above and beyond for you as well. So thanks everybody, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.